week, you folks received your group information, so who you were going to be working with. And in activity 3.2, you did 2 communication exercises. So you spoke, you listened with your group. You read a quote aloud. You practiced reading aloud with your group members and talking about the quote. So how is getting your group? How is speaking and listening with your group members, communicating with them, preparing you for your assessment where you present a book discussion in front of the entire class? Write that on your orange bookmark next to number 3.2. Write a complete sentence. Once you've got your purpose statement written down, flip your bookmark to the back side. We can catalog which concepts 3.2 helped you practice. 3.2 covered 3 of the 9 concepts that your full presentation is going to be graded on. So it helped you practice concept 1 of reading aloud. Had you practice concept 4 of collaborating and preparing or preparation with a group. And it had you practice concept 7 of communicating with your group members. So those are the 3 concepts that 3.2 helps you practice. There's 2 additional pieces that have been written on the class bookmark that you can copy down as well for how previous units helped us practice certain concepts. And once you've got your bookmark written, ready to go, you can put it away. You'll want a highlighter for sure if you have one. And then you'll open up your Springboard to page 167. Okay, there's 2 learning targets for you to go ahead and diffuse. So pull those pieces apart, find the verbs, the nouns. The first bullet point is what we're focusing in on today. That's what I told you about earlier. Second bullet point is Thursday's focus, where you folks are going to have your first group discussion about the novel. So if you have not read the first chapter of Real Witnesses, the story of David, you better have it read by Thursday, or else you're not going to be able to give a whole lot into the conversation, and you're probably going to have your group members already really disappointed and mad. Okay, so make sure that you take care of that. Now, the remainder of page 167 is a list of 4 specific jobs with a literature circle. There are 5, but on this page there's 4 of them. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be highlighting important information about each job, and I'm going to be giving you characteristics and traits of people who fit those specific jobs best. So you're going to be watching the screen. You're going to be copying any details that appear into your Springboard. All right? Now, the first job we're going to talk about is the discussion leader. So discussion leader, main responsibility here is to make a list of questions in order to talk about assigned sections of the book. Now, the types of questions that the leader needs to make are level 2, level 3, and questions that tie in the theme of finding light in the darkness. So how does David find his light in the darkness? How does Yitzhak find his light in the darkness? Now, the discussion leader is the second major role that this person takes on. They help their group, and more importantly, they're in charge of the discussion. So, discussion leader has pretty big responsibility. He or she can make this group do wonderful things, but could also facilitate the destruction of the group, the failure of it. So a discussion leader is a very important person and has a really big responsibility. Now, characteristics of a discussion leader that I want you to write down. This person is rarely, if ever, absent. Someone who's absent should not be the discussion leader because they're not quite sure what's been happening in class or how they should tackle having a conversation with one another. There's some people that aren't here today because of prior responsibilities, but they cannot be a discussion leader. They haven't been here. They're not going to be able to take on that responsibility. Now, some of you are in groups that are larger than 5. Some of you are in groups of 6 or 7. And if you're in a group that's got more than 5 members, you can have 2 leaders. In fact, I would highly recommend that. If you have a group of more than 5, I would highly choose 2 folks to be discussion leaders. Don't start picking and choosing yet, but just have an idea in mind. All right, now the second job is the diction detective. This person, what they're doing is they're looking at word choice that the children use in the stories, that the author uses when he's narrating. So things that this person is looking for are words, phrases, passages that are very descriptive or powerful or thought-provoking. They could be funny. They could be surprising. And what they're doing then is they're analyzing that information. Now, good characteristics for a diction detective to have. This person should be really good with vocabulary. It doesn't mean that they know a dictionary in and out. But what they do, if they don't know a word, they find it out. They'll go online, they'll type in this phrasing, they'll type in a word, and they'll figure out what this thing is. A diction detective, if you've got a nice high SRI score, 900 or up, you'd probably be a really good fit. Someone who can determine words, get the nuances of them. Someone who's pretty good at writing. It's not a struggle. They're able to do it with some instruction. These would be diction detectives. Okay, like a discussion leader, if you're in a group of more than 5 members, you can have 2 of these people. I'm sure you folks are making your marks. A couple of you I haven't really seen move. Okay, there's 2 more jobs on this page that we're going to break down. Next job is the bridge builder, or the BD. So a bridge builder, what he or she does is they examine events that happen in the book and similar types of events or characters that happen in the real world. They're essentially looking for connections between stories, connections between what's happening to a character in themselves, connections between what's happening in that book and what's currently happening in the world in other countries. Not only does the bridge builder examine and make connections, they also analyze specific characters, main characters. So the bridge builder would look closely at David. Who is David? What are his traits? He looks carefully at Yitzhak. Who is this boy? Looking at internal conflicts, external conflicts. Now, good characteristics, good traits a bridge builder should have. They definitely should know what the heck the term characterization is. If you're going, you probably know it, you just can't remember the term. How you describe someone is a characterization. Not only that, the bridge builder should really be up to date with what's happening in the world. I'm not saying they have to read the news or watch it every night, but they have an idea of what's going on. They're not self-absorbed. They're not constantly just looking at Instagram photos. They're actually getting an idea of what's happening, say, in politics. They know what ISIS is, what's going on there. That's someone who would be a bridge builder. Like the other 2 jobs, a bridge builder can have 2 individuals. There can be 2 members. You need to keep taking notes, guys. 3 of you keep turning around. You've got to be making these marks. Okay, the 4th job, at the bottom of the page, this is the reporter. Okay, kind of self-explanatory here. The reporter brings up key points of each reading. They're essentially summarizing, setting, plot, characters. They're the 5 W's and 1 H person. The who, what, when, where, why, and how. What the reporter has to do, he or she is the first person to talk in group meetings. They summarize the story, remind members what it was that we read about, what happened to a specific child that we read about. The report needs to be concise, so it's short, to the point, but it's thorough. It's covered everything. Okay, some really important characteristics of a reporter. They need to always do their homework on time. They are up to date in their reading. They don't fall behind. Every time reading is due, they can recall it. They've done it. Folks that notoriously aren't doing their homework on time, this would be a poor choice. They wouldn't be able to report anything to you if they're behind in their reading. Unlike the first 3 jobs, there's only one reporter. You can only have one. There's one final job. It's the most coveted, but it's got the strictest rules to it, and it's reserved for specific people. So go ahead and turn that page to 168. This is the final job. This is what a lot of people go for, but I'm also going to tell you it is the one that requires the most work to do right. It is the one that causes some of the biggest animosity amongst groups. It's a problem job, and not many people can do it well and pull it off, right? So it's fixing roles and what the artist does. Okay, like the name says, yeah, you're making illustrations. But these illustrations aren't just scenes from a story. They're showcasing the theme, finding light in the darkness, and how it occurs to each character. So how Yitzhak experiences it. Now, the artist doesn't necessarily have to draw. The artist can choose a word processing program, develop a flow chart, make a diagram. What the artist has to be able to do at each meeting is show their illustration and not explain it. Your group members should be able to understand why this piece was drawn and how it connects to a theme. When everyone has taken an understanding to the picture and you have not explained a single word, then you can bring up your point as the artist of what it was, why you drew it, so on and so forth. Again, the artist takes the most time to execute right. You'll be making 5 images. Sometimes people end up dying out halfway through, and then what they produce is really poor. And then group members get upset and they get frustrated. Who I would reserve this job for, who I would pick for this job would be these people. I would give this job to someone who's generally absent a lot. Someone who maybe misses 1 day a week per school. Because you don't have to be here to make your design. You read the novel at home and do it. However, I'd also give this to someone that really struggles with getting their work done. The artist is kind of a throwaway job. If your artist doesn't do their work, doesn't do their job, it won't necessarily kill your grade. You can still have a conversation without having their piece done. The role does not need to be reserved for someone who's an amazing artist. Because sometimes great artists, what they produce doesn't exactly fit what they should have done. The other 4 are much easier. The directions are more clear-cut. Again, I really hesitate, and I would really think about who do you choose as an artist, because this job can get tricky and it can be messed up. Okay? Also, there's only one. You can only have one artist. Now, these are the 5 jobs. Some of you have more than 5 people in your group, so that means you'll be doubling up on certain jobs. But what we've got to do next is get you prepped so that you can essentially shoot for a job and hope you get it. So what I need you folks to do now, if you have your raw notebook, take it out. If you don't, separate piece of paper will be just fine. Now, it's all well and good to start talking about jobs, but you're not going to be able to have a final say until you've completed your resume and your group has decided whether they think you're a good fit or not. Okay, now this entry, it's up to you how you want to set it up, but I would do it one of two ways. You're going to be creating two charts. If you have big handwriting, I would suggest write one chart on one side of the piece of paper, one chart on the opposite side. If you've got clean, small handwriting, you can probably fit it on one sheet. Again, there's going to be two charts. If you've got big, bubbly handwriting, I'd put it on two sides. You don't have to, but that would be a suggestion. For those of you that are only going to write on one side, draw a line in the center. That way we can break up the areas. If you're choosing two sides, obviously you're not going to draw this line. Now, the first chart is going to be labeled Personal Resume. The chart's going to have 2 columns, 7 rows. This is what I'm looking for you to make. Notice how the Personal Resume chart, the left-hand column, is much thinner than the right. It's meant to be that way.
Are we doing it all the way down the page?
That's up to you. It says if you think you need more room for 2 charts, use front and back of the piece of paper.
We're doing like, when we have to do that line.
Nope, it stopped right at the red. Now, the second chart is going to have 2 zones. One's going to be labeled Job Approval. One's going to be labeled Job Decline. This Job Approval chart, same size, 2 columns, 7 rows. But unlike the Personal Resume chart, we're going to divide it exactly in half. I'm going to give you a minute to just get these situated. Do not worry if you don't get it 100% ready to go, because each chart's going to pop up on a separate slide, and I'll walk you through it. We're going to fill in your charts one step at a time. So again, if you don't have them 100% laid out, don't freak out. You're going to see them again. They're just going to be blown out much bigger. We're going to go ahead and work on your personal resume, getting that developed. So you're going to see now that first chart, the personal resume chart, all of the right-hand column has been, left-hand column has been filled in. Just work one row at a time with me, or you're going to miss things, and then your resume is not going to be finished. So let's work on the first row. Name, write your name, first and last. Easy. Again, just go one row at a time, or you're going to end up falling behind. Okay, the second row, role, job description. This is where you're going to write down what role you want the most, and then you're going to summarize what exactly are the requirements. What do you have to do in that role? So you're going to refer back to your Springboard to fill that in. I'm going to give you about a minute, and then we're going to go to that third row. Okay, for skills, what do you have in order to accomplish each one of those requirements? So if you are asking to be the reporter, a skill might be you're an excellent note taker. If you're an artist, maybe your skill is I think outside the box. I create unique pieces. Maybe as a discussion leader, you're wanting to have that job. Your skill would be you are easygoing. You can talk with anybody. You're not afraid to talk to folks. The more concise you are with this resume, the better suited you probably are for the job. If you're leaving stuff kind of weak, kind of empty, You may not get chosen for it. Experience? What have you done in the past in terms of this kind of role that might help you? So maybe in past group activities we've done here, you've always taken on a role of a leader. Hey, come on guys, we need to get this work done together. That's just natural for you. Maybe if you're shooting to be that reporter, you're always taking those notes and you're loaning notes to folks so they can get information that they missed. You know, activities-wise, what kind of things have you done, yes, in class, but also outside of class, that showcase that strength that you have for this job? So maybe outside of school, free time, you're drawing. Maybe outside of school, you actually are watching the debates that are happening with our possible new politicians. You're up to current events. That's something you enjoy. Go, citizens, and head out. All right, now the last two are pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to just pop them up at the same time. Probably there's someone else shooting for the same job as you, so write down 2 other jobs, not one. Write down 2 others that you would be okay with completing. You can do them, they're just not your number 1 choice. And lastly, write down 1 job that you know you cannot handle. So maybe for you, the idea of being a group leader is scary. You don't feel comfortable in that role. Maybe the idea of being an artist and having to spend so much time, you just don't have the time to do that right now. You want easy instructions telling you exactly what to do. If you're finishing up your resume, that's fine. You still have time. For those of you that are ready to go, the next part of this whole interview resume process is to get other people's vote on whether you deserve this position or not, if you really fit the role. So that job approval chart we did not complete. There's the chart on the screen for you to make sure it's copied and ready to go. So you've got a couple of headings to copy. You've got some numbers to copy down. Some of you aren't doing anything, which is making you scared because there's red on the screen. Now, just like in the real world, people have the right to decline you for a position. And that's what you have to prepare yourself for. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, if you think that someone is not a good fit, you should say so. Not harshly, not like a jerk, but a real reason, real rationale why they probably aren't the best for that position. So what you're going to be doing next is you're going to be, when I say so, passing your notebooks around your entire group. Easiest thing is go clockwise. That way you guys are going in the same kind of order. And you're going to be reading each person's resume, and you're going to be writing in one of 2 places. You either approve that person for that position, or you don't approve and you provide a rationale why. Simply saying, because I want it, nope. I know this person can't do this job because I've seen them in class and they never do anything. Good reason, real reason. So I'm going to give you folks about 10 minutes. And what you've got to do in those 10 minutes not only is work your way around each notebook, getting an idea of who might be the best fit for each job, but halfway through, you folks are going to get a form, and you're going to have to fill it out. Now, big ticket, in red at the bottom of the screen, if you folks don't finish in those 10 minutes, I choose what jobs each one of you will have at random. So you've got to be able to get through this, communicate well, quickly enough, so I don't have to choose it for you. All right, folks, you have 10 minutes starting now. Read through each resume, give your input.